All right, good enough. We're live. Hey guys, I didn't roll the intro there. Something went horribly wrong, so we'll spare you the intro. Anyway, it's it's Thursday and it's snowing here in Northwest Indiana, and yeah, we got a lot to catch up on, man, don't we, Jason? Say yes, Jason. Oh crap! Oh, this ain't working all of a sudden. And he's gone. So anyway, hey guys, we got a lot to catch up on. We've been on the line for like 10 minutes, and just as soon as we go live, he drops off. So we will see what happened there. He'll be calling back in. So we went to Shot Show and we saw some stuff there that was, I don't know, it just wasn't a very good Shot Show. It we saw some cool things. I was excited about the KUSA AK. They brought the thing to market. They were showing it off. They call it the 103, even though it doesn't have a folding stock on it, which they said that they will have in a future release. So it's a 103 without the folding stock. Then if we went over to the Palmetto State Armory booth, we saw their 103, which had the folding stock and the 103 gas block, but still had a 47 bolt and carrier. So neither one of them were true 103s at the moment, but the KUSA gun really was nice. I was really excited to see that. It's a nice addition to the lineup with the KR9 that they have out there now. So we should be getting our hands on one of those here fairly soon to start playing with it and see what it's all about. And of course, we'll get our hands on one of the PSAs as well. So let's see, what else do we see? I don't know if I had any pictures from SHOT Show I could throw up or not. Jason's texting me. He has to reboot his computer, so he'll be back in a minute. I'll just tell him, okay. Gotta love technology, right? But I don't think I took any pictures at SHOT Show. We took a few, but not too many. And one of the things that we saw at SHOT Show was the Glock 44, which when I got back from SHOT Show, my Glock 44 had come in, and I had ordered it from PSA. They had them in stock before we could find them in distribution at Copper. A lot of times you guys always say, well, why are you buying guns from other gun shops when you own a gun shop? Well, that's because Copper is a small operation. Operations like Palmetto State Armory and stuff like that, Bud's Gun Shop, Preppers, they get stuff far before we would because they buy in volume and distributors give them preferential treatment. Many times they go directly to the manufacturer versus going through distribution, which is why they can have lower prices at times too. So anyway, I guess I can hide this for now. Yeah, we'll just wait till he comes back. So put up a little Skype thing over there for now. He'll be back here in a minute. So, but I did get the Glock 44, and I will say that, of course, I had problems, right? I always do. And I wasn't the only one this time, right? So there were other folks out there reporting problems, and it just so happens that my gun also had some problems. But to be fair, it's a 22, right? So I think where the letdown was with the Glock 44 for me was that Glock hyped it as being this legendary 22, that it was, they tested with 141 different types of ammunition to the tune of, 2 million rounds fired and all this other stuff, or 1.2 million rounds fired or whatever it was. And so that was giving the impression through the marketing of the thing that it was going to be this uber reliable 22, that it was just going to blow all the other 22s out of the water in terms of just being able to digest anything you put into it. Mine like CCI mini mags. After I learned the trick, that would be Jason calling back in. And there we go. Hey, man.
That is our luck right there.
Crash like as soon as we take off, right?
As soon as you hit that live button, my internet was like, nope.
Every time, man. How many times have we been doing live streams, like on the Patreon streams, and all of a sudden you'll just go solid, stop moving, still, and then off you go.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll enjoy the time that we have together before the computer does something screwy. So I was just telling everybody about SHOT Show, how it was kind of not all that eventful. We saw the AK-103s from PSA and from Kalashnikov USA, and the Kalashnikov USA rifle is a 103 through and through, with the exception of the lack of a folding stock. And the PSA 103 looks like a 103 from the outside. It has the folding stock and the 100 series gas block, but when you look
Right.
inside, it's just a 47. It doesn't have
Right.
the small stem, doesn't have the external extractor. It's a 47. So neither one of them are true 103s. The KUSA rifle is closer to the 103. And when they get the folding stock in it, boom, perfection. I hope. I mean, we haven't shot it yet, but looking at the thing, man, straight as an arrow, good looking rivets. So hopefully the production guns look that good. So that's what I was kind of talking to him about that. And
Cool.
then I started getting off into the Glock 44 territory. So you're gone a little while.
I know. I mean, it took a while to reboot everything. I was like, this is unreal. I guess one guy just said you're still on dial-up, Jason. Apparently so. I mean, we
Yep.
have Comcast around here, so if any of you watch South Park and watch the cable episode, you get what we're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. We all have rural internet, but I my rural internet is actually pretty good. So we have a super chat. Tyler, thank you. And he wanted an update on the P365 XL and the Sig Romeo red dot sight. So uh, been shooting it, and Sig actually watched my first video, and one of their optics product managers contacted me right after I posted the video. So they liked the video, but they wanted to set my expectations because I'd mentioned I was going to do a drop test. And they had told me, and I don't want to paraphrase in the video, I'll put the actual email from the product manager, but I'm paraphrasing at the moment. So, wait till the video comes out for the actual text of what was said. But he basically wanted to set the expectations that the Romeo is a polymer, a sight meant to be lightweight and carry friendly. And it's not necessarily a go to war type sight in terms of if you drop it from above 3 to 4 feet, it's probably going to break the housing. The lens won't break. And on their marketing side, they say the lens is 10 times stronger than the competition. They don't name which competitive product that's 10 times stronger than, but what it boils down to is the polymer housing will likely break if you drop it from 3 to 4 feet onto a hard surface like a hardwood floor, concrete, asphalt, something like that. So they said that at SHOT Show they're going to roll out a metal shroud for it that would be available in all future purchases and would be available for free as an update to those who had the P365 XL and the Romeo Zero. And so they told me that would be announced at SHOT Show. So then I got back. I made a post on Patreon, I think, telling everybody about it. And some people contacted SIG and they said, "Oh, somebody jumped the gun and that's not available yet." So there is a shroud. It's not the first time SIG has done this. They've done the metal shroud for other red dot sights, reflex sights in their product lineup. So I do have it. They did send one out to me free of charge, and I will put it on there. And that should give you, according to them, if I recall correctly, about an extra foot of height. So basically chest height, if you were to drop it onto the optic itself, it should survive the fall. And they said even if the housing broke, it should still work. You should still have something of a dot. And you still have the little iron sights that are really kind of hard to see, but they're there. So that's the update. The red dot sight's working great so far. It hasn't lost zero again. I take it out and shoot it every once in a while. I don't know what happened there. I talked to them about it. They said just retorque it down. Keep in mind you can only torque it to 9 inch-pounds. So if you get this thing and you put a screwdriver on it or a wrench on it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna snug this thing down," you can crush the housing because there's not a metallic shim inside the screw hole. You're literally crushing that polymer housing down to the top of the gun. So 9 inch-pounds. So what's new with you, Jay?
Not a whole lot. I have been really into Bren 2s lately. I mean, I actually love the 7.62x39 Bren 2. I know one of the interesting thing is when it first came out, everybody was in this, oh, it needs to take AK mags. I won't take it if it doesn't take AK mags. They're all out there. But in all actuality, I mean, if you actually try it and look at the magazines and everything associated with it, with its AR-15-ish controls, it kind of keeps that same mental memory, if you will, on most folks. So it's kind of nice having that. But
I like
I
it.
can see where everybody's getting at, right? They got their stockpile of AK mags. They don't want to necessarily buy more magazines for the 7.62x39. But it is worth a try. I know this particular Bren 2, I mean, I'd love to show it to you guys, but YouTube will not allow us to put guns up and show you on the screen anymore.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that.
But what I've done is actually taken a 14-inch gas plug and put it in a 11-inch gun, and that actually put the gas port almost to a perfect size where there's very minimal recoil. But I'm still testing it in regards of how reliable that is, and will it stay reliable and function without any issue. And then the other thing, guys, if you haven't already, check out HB Industries. They created a handguard for this thing that is just awesome. I mean, I feel like that was the piece that completed the puzzle to that gun. And they're also making, the charging handle, safety, I think, and then a trigger. And I'd imagine they probably got more to come.
Yeah,
Knowing they like the Scorpion, they came out with a lot of stuff with the Scorpion. So yeah. I really enjoy the Bren 2.
I'll tell you what, you putting that gas plug in it made the world of difference. It still has positive extraction and ejection, but man, is it a pussycat. And I think, the magazines aren't that horribly expensive. So it'd be nice to use AK mags, but I'd rather have the CZ dedicated mags just so it's going to work right. How many times, like with an AR-15 with the 7.62x39 conversions, have we seen, just wonky reliability? They just don't work right. So, not that the AK mag would be bad, but see, keep in mind, guys, when you use actual AK mags, there are 50 at least different variations of that magazine out there that are being produced worldwide, and some work, some don't. So it's better they have their own mag.
We've come across that with magazines that won't fit in certain AKs and others that will. So
that's absolutely true.
With its own proprietary magazine, if you will, it's guaranteed to fit in that particular gun.
Yep. And if you're gonna run that gun, you might as well buy the proprietary mags just so you're going to have the right, fitment and reliability. We did have another super chat, and Devlin, thank you. And it said he saw 2 vids of the Glock 44 running full auto. So I heard about that, but I hadn't actually seen the videos. And so you know what, guys, the Glock 44, it's got some teething issues, and it's not the first time, right? So Glock did this with the Gen 5 guns. They did it with the Gen 4 guns. I went down to the Indiana State Police because them, and I believe it was the FBI, got the Gen 5 before it was called a Gen 5. And they went down and let me shoot it. I posted some stuff on Instagram, and I got hands-on experience with what would then become the Gen 5 Glock. And the FBI and the Indiana State Police all had to turn them in because they were launching the slide and barrel assemblies off the frames while they were shooting them. So, and then the Gen 4s, we had all the extractor issues. They probably went through 5 different iterations of the extractor. So, every time they come out with a new product or they update one of the existing products, sometimes there's some teething issues. Glock doesn't like their reputation tarnished, and I'm sure they'll fix it. But I did find that the thing had some pretty interesting failures, though. I'm going to share a few here. So here is one of the failures that was quite common, and you'll see this is a Remington Golden bullet, which in our second video, these rounds were working just fine. The narrative on Glock Talk was it's garbage ammo. Don't run that garbage in your gun. Run $8 a box ammunition out of it. No, I buy a 22 so I can run the cheap stuff, and this runs in every other 22 pistol I own. So this type of failure was unacceptable to me. Well, it turned out that it was more of a magazine loading issue. And even in the first video, I said, here's the trick on how you flick the magazine upside down and get that bullet nose up. And even when we were doing that, it was still having all sorts of failures. And that was one example of them. But once we watched the Glock video, which is prominently displayed on the Glock 44's product page, like the first thing you see is a glamour shot of the Glock 44, and right below it's like, how to load your magazine properly. I wonder why they put that there. Now I know. It's because the darn thing won't work right if you don't put it on a flat surface and pull it down just enough to get around in. If you pull it down too far, you'll get stacking issues. This was a very common failure. There you can see some of the flutes on the spent case that's stovepiped there. And saw that with the Federal ammunition more than anything. Federal bulk pack is fairly common. I run it out of every gun. That's why I had so much of it on hand. And that's why I wound up in the Glock videos. Turns out my G44 doesn't like it. Now others on Glock Talk said that theirs ran fine with it. And this was my particular favorite, the live round stovepipe. So there have been some explosive videos, let's say, out there of the Glock 44s detonating, going off out of battery. And it is a rim fire. And you can clearly see that the slide has the rim pinched against the barrel hood. That, in theory, could cause that round to go off. So that's a very dangerous type of failure to feed. And I had, I think even in the second video, we had one of those, right, Jay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We had that happen several times. And I've also seen other people, Hank Strange put up a video, and they were just doing 500 rounds, just letting the camera roll, and they had one of those as well. So it's not just my gun doing it, and that's a malfunction I don't want to have too often. Matter of fact, I just don't want to have it. So,
What's interesting is I agree with you on the fact that if I get a 22, I really want it to run those cheap bulk packs because that's what I'm going to buy. And what's kind of funny is like my Keltec CP33 hasn't stopped yet.
no,
But
I mean, that's a
that's
great gun, isn't it? I really expected that magazine to be nothing but trouble, right?
well, they say it will be if you don't load it right. It definitely will be.
But it's so easy to load. You remember one of our viewers said, put the round in upright, push it back, and then fold it down. It doesn't bust your thumbs, and the magazine stacks perfectly every time.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Andy, for the super chat. Andy says Mac is my favorite gun channel. Do you believe you are alone in giving honest reviews in today's flooded market of YouTube gun channels? No, actually, I would say most of my peers actually share their honest opinions. So yeah, there are some paid videos and stuff going on out there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be honest, because I'm not going to drop names or anything like that, but there's some pretty big names out there that have done some very negative videos, and those were paid videos, so it can be done. So I think there's plenty of honesty out there, and I think the GunTube world is awesome. I think that we at SHOT Show we went to the Gundies, the first annual Gundies, and we got to see a lot of other GunTubers all in one place. And did you have a good time, Jay? Was that fun or what?
That was actually pretty cool, and that was the first annual Gundies thing. And to be honest, when I first went in there, I was like, okay, this is maybe hokey, but it actually turned out epic.
Like, they did a really good job. They really
did an excellent job, and the venue was good. And actually, I mean, they could have used a bigger venue, to be honest with you. And if they do it like that, it can only go up. I mean, it was something cool.
I agree. I think they did a really, really good job. I like you, I didn't know what to expect, and we walked in, and we were the first ones there. And I mean, the turnout was amazing. They had it set up just like where you would watch the Grammys or whatever on TV. Where they would pre-roll, and let you know who the contestants were for any given category, and then they would rip open a card out of an envelope. It was a lot of fun, and let's see where I got a picture here of my Gundy. So I actually got one. So there's two reasons why this Gundy is so important to me.
Did you show this yet?
Not yet.
Oh,
this is epic, right? So there's two reasons why this Gundy was so amazing for me. First of all, I went up against Jerry Michlik for this category, and I thought when I saw that, like, oh, well, there goes that, right? No way am I going to beat Jerry. Well, I did win the category, and Jerry won a different category, so that worked out great for both of us there. But I got to put this up because Jim's such an awesome dude. Jim, thank you, brother. I'll get to your super chat here in a second, but let me put this Gundy up there. I got to shrink this little super chat thing down here. Move it off over to the side, and let's put the Gundy up. So this is the second part of why the Gundy's so funny. I won't say funny, cool. It's cool. Where is it? Gundy. Bonk. To me, cover my face up. So the Gundies, yes, it's a 3D printed gold looking thing of a guy taking a selfie with a braced pistol. And there's the most influential. And if you look right down there at the bottom, it says sponsored by Sig Sauer. So we were, when it popped up, the category most influential, going up against Jerry Michlik, no chance we thought, that we'd ever win this. And then I was telling everybody how funny it would have been had I won this, given the fact that it was sponsored by SIG. And then they opened the card and read off the Military Arms channel, and Jason and I looked at each other like, wow.
Are you sure? I mean, sponsored by SIG. I mean, the one company that actually recalled a package that was sent to you. SIG. I know,
right? Well, so the optic guy kind of went radio silent. After I got the email from one of the viewers that said that they'd contacted SIG to get the hood for the Romeo Zero, I said, hey man, I'm sorry if I stumped something. You said that you're going to announce it's a SHOT Show. I apologize. I won't say anything, publicly on the live big channel. It was just to my Patreons, and they never responded. So I don't know if he got in trouble or if he's mad or what, but I didn't mean to do anything. And actually, what's funny is I love certain Sig products. I love my Rattler and I love my P365 XL. So the reason I keep going back to Sig is because they do something that other companies in this industry oftentimes fail to do, and that's innovate. Take Glock, for example. They introduced the Glock 44. And again, it cracked me up how many people were waiting with bated breath to find out what the new Glock was. And people were saying Glock carbine again. Like every year, it's a standing joke that Glock's going to introduce a carbine. And they really believed it. And then when they said, it's a 22, everybody was just like, wah, wah. So it's just the same gun in a different caliber. Yet again, the same thing for the last 30 plus years. So, Jim, I promised to get to your super chat, brother. Thank you. It seems like forever since we've been able to catch up live stream. That is so true. Thanks for taking the time, guys. I'm on the 7.62 Bren 2 kick as well. It's a great platform, and I feel people that are passing because of the mags are missing out. I couldn't agree more.
They really are. I mean, this thing rocks. So that's just me. That's just me.
Got to go back here and catch up on some super chats here. Let's see. All right, Lennon, if you had to choose, would you rather have the Tavor 7 or the MDR in 308? Tavor 7, hands down. How about you?
Same. Tavor 7 is just, after shooting that thing, it really is nice. And the cool thing is with the 150 grain American Eagle stuff, it was actually putting down respectable groups.
It was. And so we were shooting the Tavor 7, what do you say, 8 months before it went live?
Oh yeah, at least.
And we were giving feedback to IWI saying, this is a problem. Remember how bad that thing would kick us? We'd fire 20 rounds. It felt like somebody's, like Mike Tyson was punching us in the jaw. I mean, it torqued over and hit you in the face. Recoil was abusive. I mean, for a 308, I'm not even recoil sensitive. And it wasn't the recoil into the shoulder. It was the fact the gun was torquing and whacking you in the jaw when you fired it. You had a headache when you were done.
I did.
And there were other things, accuracy, man, like 5 MOA accuracy. And so we were giving feedback to IWI, and when they finally released it and Copper got some in and I got my hands on one, I was blown away by the changes. They resprung it, regassed it, solved the accuracy issues. The darn thing will shoot a minute and a half, 2 MOA to a minute and a half, you can expect. I mean, we even saw close to a minute, like 1.2 MOA, 1.5 MOA. If you get a bad round, you'll have 4 rounds touching and the 5th round go to, 1 3/4 inch. But the point is the thing is more than adequate in terms of accuracy, and they put match ammunition in it. And yeah, man, I'd hunt with it. I'd do anything with it. And it's, you can drag it behind a truck and you're not going to break it. The MDR is accurate. It's got a better trigger, but the Tavor 7's not bad. Do you think?
No, I actually like the Tavor's trigger, but yes, the MDR has a slightly better trigger.
And the MDR, I like it. I like the way it looks. I like the forward ejecting. I like the fact that you can switch it left, right hand use just by, switching the little port covers, which don't take tools to pull off. Neat features, but I want to say Mr. Guns and Gear. It's the wrong one. Why can't I think of his name? Grand Thumb. Grand Thumb did some testing with it. I've stayed in regular communications with him. And, I think we both agree that the gun, if you get it dirty, get it muddy, it's not going to perform to what most people would expect given the marketing that they've done with it. So, but in hunting, and you've hunted with it as well. I've hunted with it, you've hunted with it, and we had a great time. The thing worked great. And, it's been reliable. Does require oil, does require the occasional cleaning, but it runs fine. The Tavor 7, clean it with dirt. All right. Let's see. John, super chat. Thank you, John. Hi, guys. What happened to the Crowdcast streams? Not going to be a sourpuss, but I prefer not to be required to pay again to ask you guys questions on live streams. Any plans to go back? No, we can't go back. They seriously reined in how many streams we could have going simultaneously, and they were charging us almost $300 a month for the privilege, and it's just unsustainable. So we had to come back to this, and you don't have to do a super chat to get seen, but we see them more quickly and we address them first, obviously, because people are donating to the channel. But I liked it. I liked the polling. I liked some of the features. It's just they kept making it more expensive and more difficult to use. And it just wasn't a long-term product, unfortunately.
I remember John over there on Crowdcast. So John is, I believe, a Patreon of
He
ours.
is, yeah.
And John, you still have that option to ask the question. I believe you can also message me now on Patreon as well, and then also message Tim.
Yeah, we
So
always answer
have
our Patreon emails. Every other email gets ignored until we answer our Patreon emails. So we'll always take your question, brother. Thank you, though. Another super chat, and it says, "What do you think of the LWRC SMG 45?" So we got to play with that at the Big Daddy shoot. We had a couple come into copper, and
we had one.
yeah, what's that?
We had one come into copper.
Oh, Dave said
That's
two. He said he had two, maybe two on order, and one came in.
yeah.
But I got to see it. I got excited because LWRC told me at the Big Daddy shoot they'd send me one for T&E. Why would I take a T&E from them? Because the darn things cost like $2,200. So,
3,000.
oh, 3,000. I guess
Yes.
dealer price is like 22, 25 or something like that. So yeah, they're really expensive. Fun to shoot, but yeah. And the other thing you're going to want to do is buy real HK UMP 45 magazines. Don't buy the US made ones because they're not going to work. We found that out at the Big Daddy shoot. HK mags, good to go. US made ones, nothing but trouble.
They said that they're working on a spring kit or something to replace the springs inside of the US ones to hopefully remedy that. But yes, the German ones are better. So I don't know, Tim, if how many super chats you got, but maybe you can dive into, the YouTube changes, what has happened, and why we can't show firearms, if you will.
Yeah. So you guys probably already heard this from other folks that do live streams, but YouTube decided that we can no longer handle firearms in live streams. YouTube will more than likely have artificial intelligence watching the stream right now. Let's see if it kills the stream. And so, and so the AI will identify a gun, send it over to a human moderator. A human will quickly take a look at the stream and see if it's a static image or a live image. And if you're streaming live with a firearm in frame, they'll kill the stream. And so we can roll in pictures like I have been doing. It's just the days of us holding up firearms are over. Rick, super chat. What are your thoughts on the PSA PS9 dagger? Okay, it's a Glock knockoff if I'm thinking of the right product, the 9mm Glock pistol. Cool. I don't get into polymer 80s, and I have Glocks. I don't want a knockoff of a Glock. I'll just go buy a Glock. But it is $299 or something like that. What do you think, Jay?
I glanced at it, but I didn't touch it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's essentially a Glock knockoff.
I mean, for folks that don't want to spend an extra $150 and get a real Glock, cool, go for it, man. I mean, that's why we have a market out there, and one person's ideal firearm might be another person's like, have no interest in it. And so, we have our opinions. And if I'm going to run a Glock, I'm going to run a Glock. So I'm sure it'll be a fine gun. I mean, people tell me they build their polymer 80s, and I mean, I think this is crazy. They even carry them for personal defense, and I would never do that. I don't care who built it,
Right. Yeah, that's one thing that I've looked into. It's like if I'm going to carry a gun, I want it to be like 100% factory, if you will, because you change one thing in there and it very well could cost you your life. Like it's just, to me, it seems like if it's factory, it should be good to go. But there are people out there that deck them out. I want to say there was Mr. Gunsinger posted a clip on
bring up the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, of that decked out, Glock looking thing, and he could not get the thing to run, and he had a threat essentially coming right at him. I think he got one shot off.
Yeah, and it
I think
folded the
that
bad
one
guy
shot
up, but it was
counted.
body cam footage that he posted on Instagram of a guy with a Gucci duty Glock, and people say, why don't you do that? And he said, this is why I don't do it, and that's what I've said for years. Don't mess with your triggers. If I'm going to carry a Glock, get it stippled if you must, put grip tape on it, Talon grips, put some good sights on it, put a flashlight on it, but stay out of the trigger mechanism, fire control group, stay out of the barrel. Don't go cutting holes in your slide because it looks cool. That's just going to allow, crud into the action of the gun. Keep it simple and don't mess with the stuff that's been tested, for years by the actual manufacturer. And And then that kind of dovetails into the next super chat. It says the most innovative thing Glock has made is the 43X in years. Agreed. And then he goes on to say something else I completely agree with, but it's a third-party company that made it innovative with the 15-round mags. So yes, and I love those magazines. I've gotten my hands on more of them, and it's the S15 magazines. And man, those things absolutely rock. And it makes the G43X go from a 10-round single stack to a 15-round double stack. Steel magazines, you got to put a steel $10 mag release button in your G43X or G48. And now you have what Glock should have brought to market. People say, well, you always say Glock doesn't innovate. What could they do? How about make a G43X with a 15-round magazine? So they gave a good baseline there for somebody else to be innovative, and there you go. S15 magazine it is. All right. Let's see what we got here. Another super chat. Any plans to do to head to Q headquarters and do a video tour and build a rifle? They say you're welcome anytime. I'd love to go out there and visit the Q guys and take a look at their operations. I don't know that they've actually asked us to come out. Maybe they have. I text with Kevin every once in a while, not very often, but I'll follow up on that. If they're out there saying that we would be welcome, or maybe they're just talking about gun channels in general, I'd be up for a trip. How about you, man? Want to go to New Hampshire?
Why not?
All right. Let's see. I think we're getting caught up here, maybe. All right.
I see one that's saying, how is the ICDL coming along?
ICDL is good, and that's the Indiana Citizens Defense League. You can find it on Facebook. Search for Indiana Citizens Defense League. Myself and another gentleman by the name of Kurt. We formed it in response to what's been going on nationally. The Virginia Citizens Defense League has been so prolific and instrumental in dealing with what's been going on in Virginia that we reached out to them. And through GOA, because they actually got their start in GOA's offices, so they're very closely tied. And we said, can we mirror what you've done in Virginia and do that in Indiana? And then once we get the recipe together, make it available to other people to do the same thing in their own states if they don't already have an organization. And so it's up and running. It's incorporated. It's legally an entity. We're just waiting for the 501c4 paperwork to come back from the IRS, and then we can take memberships. So, and that's what you guys can do to get politically active. A lot of folks say, Mac, can you tell your audience what's going on in Oregon, what's going on in Connecticut, what's going on in Virginia, what's going on in Arizona, what's going on in Missouri, what's going on? It's like that would take a channel dedicated to that in and of itself. What we want to do is empower you guys to fight at the state level, because the dynamic has changed, where the gun grabbers have seen very little success at the federal level. Now being funded by Bloomberg and others, they've seen a lot of success at the state level. They're flipping state legislatures, and they're pushing through gun control at the state level. And now we have to change our tactics. You can't look to GOA and SAF and Firearms Policy Coalition and all those guys. Those are national organizations that fight at the federal level. They don't have the money, resources, or manpower to fight in all 50 states. Even if the NRA was useful, they couldn't do it with their vast resources. So we have to fight ourselves, and that's why we've set up the Indiana Citizens Defense League, and that's why when it's done, we're going to make that available to anybody else that wants it to set up such organizations within their own states. But first, make sure you don't have that organization or something similar to it in your state, so you don't duplicate efforts and split them up. Thank you, man. I just put up a super chat there, and let's go down here really fast. All right, we got a big one here. The KR-103 looks really nice, but the PSA has more features, including the folding stock, forged bolt, and FN cold hammer forged barrel, all the while coming in at substantially cheaper. Yeah, I mean, the PSA, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that, Kalashnikov USA, they're using, for whatever reason, people think cold hammer forged barrels are the cat's meow. They were never really intended to be precision instruments. And somehow people have gotten it into their heads that cold hammer forging equates to quality and accuracy. Cold hammer forging was developed by Nazi Germany in World War II to extend the life of machine gun barrels, not to make them more accurate. And the same is true of chrome plating. It was made to extend the life of machine gun barrels, not to protect it from corrosion. And so those two things together are great. Well, I'm not able to buy an AK-47 that's fully automatic, so I'd prefer to have a button cut barrel for consistency and accuracy, and chrome lining for, those times I just want to go out and do mag dumps. But so I'm not all into the hammer forging. I just, as long as they both have chrome lined bores, I'm good to go. So that to me is that, and FM barrels are just okay in my experience. I've, had other barrels that far exceed them in terms of accuracy capabilities and stuff. But yes, so the KR 103, yeah, it doesn't have the folding stock yet, but it has the 103 stem on the bolt, has the external extractor, where the PSA 103 does not. It's an AK-47 with a 100 series gas block and folding stock. So take your pick. And if you're constrained by budget, then absolutely the PSA is the way to go. Always has been. Those guys focus on cost more than other companies, and they make a good product. I mean, they've really come along. What do you think, Jay?
So, I mean, PSA has definitely come a long way. I know, especially in their AR thing. But when you start getting into the AK world, they had some hiccups along the way. So maybe as they progress, they might actually become epic. I mean, I guess what I'm reading out there now is some folks are having decent luck with their current PSA AKs. Mm-hmm. And it was cool to see that stuff that they had at SHOT Show. I think it was a spiker and some kind of a adjustable gas block Madwell gun and all that other good stuff. I'd love to see that, but I think that might have been like the draw the crowd in type of stuff to their booth. And I'd be curious to see if they can actually produce that stuff.
They launched more than any other company at SHOT Show.
Right.
They had just, what was it, the Jackal, their entire AK lineup with a folding spiker, which didn't have a cleaning rod or even the facilities to mount one, which I thought was curious. They had the 5.56 AK with the magwell, which they've shown before. They had the 103. They had the Glock dagger thing. They had a lot going on. And I'd be curious to see how much of it they actually get to market. But yeah, I have a Gen 3 PSA AK fixed stock, and I've had it for some time. And I just recently ordered through the dealer network a triangle folder, because I love triangle folders for some reason. I don't know why. So I will be doing a video with those two rifles in the next few months or so, once we get some rounds downrange. Did you ever give away the rifle away for your 1 million subscriber on YouTube? Yep, Big Daddy Unlimited did the whole giveaway. And if you want to go over to their website, they may still have it up. If you have the link to the old page, it's up. But yep, made the announcement on Instagram and all that good stuff. We just couldn't talk about it on YouTube because YouTube doesn't allow things like that. All right. How's the bump stock fight going? So it's currently, oral arguments have been had in the district court, and now we're waiting for the court to give us some feedback. So it's been back and forth with the government making its case, then the GOA making its case, and now oral arguments have been heard, and we're waiting for some sort of a decision. But for whatever reason, it's taking an awfully long time. And should they not decide in our favor? And that's kind of what we speculated. So I met with my GOA attorney, and Jason was there as well for dinner, and we briefly talked about it. And it's really weird how they're handling it. It's like the court doesn't want to deal with it because they don't want to be the judge that overturns the bump stock ban. And so we'll see, or they don't want to be the court that overturns it. So if they don't give a favorable decision, it goes up to the Supreme Court, and we'll see what the Supreme Court does. But it's not about the bump stocks, never was. It's about them taking an accessory, which they have no right to regulate to begin with, and saying it's perfectly legal, and you go out and buy it, then they make a law that they retroactively enforce, saying, oh, you know what, that thing that you bought that we said was legal, it's not legal anymore, and we're not going to pay anything for it. You just need to turn it in. That's BS. That doesn't happen in a free country, and that's why we're challenging it. And the bump stock shouldn't exist anyway, because machine guns should not be illegal. So, yeah.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, you remember hearing the silencer thing, right? Silencers, I don't like those. Could you imagine suppressor owners out there that your suppressor is now illegal and turn it over without any compensation? Or those machine gun owners out there with transferable machine guns?
Yep. Oh, just turn them in. Sorry, guys.
Turn them in.
I know you've owned them for 20 years, but you got to give them up now.
Sorry you paid maybe $35,000 for your MP5 or whatever it is, but it's ours now.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Can't have it anymore. And even if they did give you the money for it, it still doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Say they gave you the $35,000 you invested in your transferable MP5. It's still, they can't do that. Not in a free society, not under our constitutional republic as the way the Constitution's written. And based upon what the founder said in the Federalist Papers and in other documents. Okay, so I use a V3 Klinger holster at the 3:30 to 4 o'clock position. I can't get my thumb between my CZ and my side on the draw. No space. Reason? Can't explain. Don't know. I don't have a Klinger. And anytime you carry inside the waistband, you're going to find that you really are pushing your pistol right up against your skin. So you're going to have to come up with a technique. I stick my thumb in and push down almost so hard that it like starts to take my pants off, and then I yank up to pull the handgun out. So you have to be fairly aggressive when you carry inside the waistband, and if you tighten your belt, so you can keep your phone, your gun, your spare mag, your keys, pocket knife, flashlight, all the stuff you carry in your pants held up. It's going to require a fairly tight belt, and that means the gun's going to be pressed against your body. So it's technique more than anything, unless there's something goofy about the holster. But I don't have a V3 Klinger to play with there. All right. Let's see. Thank you, Michael. And let's see what we got here. All right. The cat's meow. How old are you? Huh? How old am I? I don't know if you're asking another. I don't know what that is. Okay, sorry guys.
Old man, that's what he is.
Me, I'm an old man, yes. I'm half a century old. All right. It's kind of scary when you put it like that, isn't it?
The way you put, yeah.
So I was the M16 had been in service for a few years when I was born. So my entire life, the M16 has been our service rifle. How weird is that? And I'm half century old. I mean, it's been your service rifle as well, and you're considerably younger than I am. All right.
The M16?
Yeah, it's been around forever. For you.
Basic, I had that M16A4, and then at the unit was the M4 carbine. And now these guys apparently got some M4A1 carbine with an ambi safety and a few other sling positions.
Somebody had said before the stream even started, PSN Gamer, I think, said, what do you think about CLP? A Ranger Battalion or something says that CLP causes respiratory disorders or something, and that's why they don't use it anymore. Like, man, when I was in, we had sonic cleaners, and we bathed in that stuff. I mean, I'd leave it on my skin for days. I had no idea. They said it would mist, and they would inhale it when they were firing full auto or something, and it was causing respiratory disorders. I don't know. We ate that stuff on our food. We had it on everything.
CLP?
CLP. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, they come around at like jugs of it and just pouring it in your little bottle or whatever. Yeah, I mean.
And SOY, we'd be firing our rifles, and the troop handlers would come by, and they just had pump spray bottles of CLP, and they're just like spraying it into the action of our weapons while we're firing. And got covered in this stuff. So if it causes respiratory problems, I haven't had it yet.
Yeah, not
but
yet.
There is bad stuff in it. I know that. Hey, it's the Tyven Show. What's up, brother? Power to the bearded man making America stand strong with honor. Thanks, brother. All right. So let's see. So talking about the Marines, you sent me a link. I thought this was really funny. So the Marines have really fallen in love, I guess, with the 416 HK, which they call the IAR or the M27, 5.56 piston-driven M16 made by H&K. And so in 2017, they decided to issue it to every 0311 in the fleet, and they were hoping to roll that out by 2019, 2020. Okay, so you're talking about a weapon that, with a loaded magazine in it, weighs about 10 pounds, just shy of 10 pounds. Now they went and announced that this link that you sent me here, this. So the Marines want to adopt the VCOG, great optic. The RCO, we've had some problems with the not just the RCO, but just the ACOG in general can be problematic. And we've seen more than one of them lose zero. But the VCOG is a great heavy optic at 2.1 pounds. So by the time the Marines get done outfitting themselves with their new 10-pound rifles with 2-pound optics on them, not counting the PECs and slings and extra ammunition, they have a 12-pound rifle. They might as well go back to the M14 because it's a 12-pound rifle that fires 5.56. I wouldn't want to hump that thing. This goes back to what the original design was of Eugene Stoner, was to have a lightweight rifle that weighed 5 pounds. And I don't know.
I do have to say, when the Marines adopted that M27 IAR, applause. I mean, that was really cool. I think that rifle's pretty awesome. And now I guess maybe the VCOG is going to go, because didn't they now just adopt M4s for their regular units? They finally got rid of the M16A4. Now they got the M4s, and maybe they're going to put the VCOG on just the M4, and I guess that wouldn't be bad. But if you put it on that, they may be sticking with that RCO on the IAR. So,
that would be interesting. But the IAR they're talking about issuing to every 03. So all the 0311s, which are the infantrymen, they're going to be carrying the M27 with the VCOG. What I have up on the screen right now is the BCM rifle that's gone 7,000 rounds, but that optic on top is a VCOG. I know how heavy it is because I have one, and it's a cudgel. It's a heavy optic, great optic.
It is a big, beefy optic.
It's not lightweight. Let me see if I can turn this off here. Okay. All right. So yeah, I thought that was really funny. All right, let's see. I'm gonna get caught up here. Got a couple more super chats. We're gonna keep it to an hour, so we have about 15 minutes here. Any updates on the CZ Scorpion? I bought a carbine a few weeks ago and loving it. I mean, yeah, we shoot them all the time. I know a lot of folks. I just watched another video of a guy pulling a bullet out of a live case, emptying the gunpowder out, putting the live primer and case into the chamber of a Scorpion, pulling the bolt slightly out of battery, pulling the trigger, and pop, the primer went off. And there's been some videos of of the guns going off out of battery, especially if you're running something like a Franklin Armory trigger, and you get a case that doesn't go completely into battery, or a round that doesn't go completely into battery, and it lets it go. You're firing it too fast, whatever. You catch that bolt before it's fully closed, which I can do, especially with the Franklin Armory triggers. My gripe against them is I can fire them so fast that I get hammer follow all the time. Certain guns like the HKs, we put their triggers in, we couldn't even get them to fire 2 rounds in binary. So yeah, that's the only thing you got to worry about. Apparently, I've been shooting them. Jason's been shooting them, suppressed, unsuppressed, and we've never had one blow up. So I think they're great guns, but whatever.
I don't know what differences there are, because we don't have one to really compare to. I mean, we've shot one. They actually brought out a true Scorpion machine gun for us to play with in that blizzard that one time. Mm-hmm. I didn't actually get a chance to, analyze the trigger assembly and the bolt and all the other good stuff and see what the differences are in there. And maybe there's some bolt bounce or something going on, or, with the bolt, it's all one solid piece essentially, isn't it? Just like similar to an Uzi, if you will.
Very similar.
Maybe some bounce. And when that bounce happens, it comes out just a little bit, and because like the AUG, for instance, has anti-bounce springs in the full auto one, and in the semi-auto one, there isn't any.
Right.
So if you were to put some kind of binary trigger thing inside of an AUG, you very well could blow the gun up because it doesn't have those anti-bounce springs in there. So maybe the full auto Scorpion has some kind of anti-bounce thing that the semi-autos don't, and maybe that's what you would run into with the binary trigger.
Right. Could be. So that, or if you just have a round that's not seated fully to depth, or something gets on it, a piece of dirt, whatever, and it doesn't go into battery. I don't know. Speculating. Masada gun?
Right.
Yep, in the spring. We will, and we have a Masada to test. So it's just snowing here right now and about 17 degrees. So we don't do the gauntlets when it's the water would be ice. So give us a couple months. We're heading into spring. We're looking forward to it. Okay, another super chat. Thank you guys so much. Fellow Hoosier, how do we change the anti-2A minds? Being political, unfortunately. If you want to bring people over to our side of the argument, you can't call them names. You have to engage them and try to use reason. And if that doesn't work, then call them names. But in all seriousness, we just have to change the narrative that the media has about gun owners, being violent, being racist, being whatever they label us, and which isn't true. And the only way you can do that is by engaging with them and having meaningful conversations where possible. And I'm talking about it, at the voter level, at the citizen level, with regards to the politicians. You know, the battle lines are drawn. For whatever reason, the Democrats have adopted the anti-gun stance, and most Republicans have adopted the pro 2A stance to various degrees. I mean, there's plenty of Republicans that politicians that back gun laws, and there's plenty of Democrat representatives from some of the southern states, especially that are pro 2A. So you can't definitively say that, but anytime you see the national discussion going about what laws to pass, like assault weapons bans and things like that, the Democratic leadership is always the one pushing for it. You never see the Republican Party pushing for it. Me, I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I hate them both equally, because the reality is we've had more gun control pass under Republican leadership than we have under Democratic leadership. And that's not because the Democrats haven't been trying. It's because gun owners go to sleep when they think a Republican's going to save them, Trump included. All right. Off my soapbox. Let's see. Another super chat. Question. Next handgun test. And where's Sam? Sam is back working with the guys at Griffin Armament. So he's up in Skansen working up there. I'd love to have him down. Maybe we'll have him down in the spring and do some suppressor videos. Have the guys from Griffin bring some stuff down. They got some cool machine guns, and my neighbors don't mind the gunfire. So, but Sam's still around, still kicking. We'd love to have him back on the channel sometime. It's just that he went out, was working in Montana, and then came back, and he's up in Wisconsin now with the Griffin Armament guys.
Yeah, I definitely miss having Sam around. He's a good dude.
He's a lot of fun. Sam is fun. Let's see. Oh, you know what I found? I was going through the T-shirts at Copper, and I found a range time T-shirt, like unworn. I gotta rock that thing in video when it warms up. Let's see. Hey, Tyven. I've been seeing a manufacturer. Let's see. I don't have my reading glasses on. I've been seeing a manufacturer make plastic bullet case. What's your thoughts? Yeah, we saw that at SHOT Show too. We saw a lot of signage for it. Maybe it's time. This has been tried many times before, and it's never really worked out well. I remember back in the day in the 80s, we had active shotgun shells. Who remembers those? They were all polymer shotgun shells. And they're usually bright colors like red and stuff. But yeah, I believe the Marine Corps was looking at adopting, what's funny, they're going to a heavier fighting rifle, but they were looking to reduce the weight of the 50 cal ammunition. So they were looking at a polymer 50 caliber cartridge casing, and they were testing it to see how well it would hold up. Eventually polymers will catch up and be able to handle that type of heat and not get stuck in chambers, but past attempts haven't fared well. All right. Let's see, we're getting pretty close to the bottom of the hour here. Any interest in the P210 standard? Yeah, I have a military P210, a prefix. If you're talking about the stuff that they're producing here in the United States, no. I think, didn't SIG release like a carry version of their P210, SIG USA?
I have not paid any attention to SIG for some time since they've let me down for the, I don't know, 5th time. I just quit.
Yeah, I should quit. I can't quit them. I can't quit you. Somebody will get the reference. Let's see. And I didn't even see the movie. All right, so I think we're through the super chats, so we can just pick random things here. You know what? What are we going to talk about? I had pictures.
I just glanced in.
What's that? You got a little choppy.
I was going to say there was one guy asking about what our red flag law is in Indiana.
Yeah, so we're trying to get a 2A sanctuary passed here in my county, and I went to the county commissioners meeting, and that became, the discussion got derailed into a red flag law discussion, and so we didn't get where we wanted to. The act or the resolution was tabled, and we're going to go back and give another try here soon. They didn't kill it; they just tabled it. But so Indiana's law basically says that if a judge issues a warrant to seize your firearms in the state of Indiana, they can do so. And then they have 2 weeks to bring you before the court and make a decision whether or not your property is to be returned to you. Now, here's the stupidity in the law. One of many stupidities. Improper English there. So they take the gun away from a person they think is dangerous, but then the person can still go out to any gun store and go buy another gun. I mean, it's just dumb. They say it's going to save officers' lives. We somehow got by 100 years plus years before this law was enacted, 150 years before the law was enacted. I don't even know when Indiana enacted it, but it's the notion that they just come take the guns away. The guns aren't the problem. If you're truly fearful somebody's going to go shoot their spouse or whatever, the person is the problem. It goes back to this notion that guns kill people. Guns don't do anything to anybody. And not only that, and this came up in the discussion at the commissioners meeting that our sheriff didn't like to hear, but the fact is that you can't just have a pre-crime unit running around trying to guess whether or not somebody's going to commit a crime. As nice and fancy as that sounds, it just doesn't work. And you can't just go around having people say, well, so-and-so's a threat, so let's go take his rights away from him or her rights away from him, and then go before a court and then they'll decide whether or not you can have your rights restored when there are already laws on the books. If I'm threatening somebody, it's already against the law. If I go and come over to your house, Jason, and put a gun to your head and say, I'm going to kill you next time I see you, I already broke a law, right? So there's already laws in place. If somebody's truly a threat, they have to do something that breaks a law. Then you can arrest them and take their property until you go to court, at least under our current laws in most other states except Indiana. But in Indiana, we have a pre-crime unit. So somebody can say, I think he's dangerous. I saw him walking into the house with this nasty looking black rifle. I hear him shooting in the backyard all the time. And he's just crazy. He has this crazy 1,000-yard stare when I see him, and I don't like him. And maybe that would cause a judge in Indiana to issue a warrant for the police to come and take your firearms from you. And then they have 2 weeks leaving you running around with a 1,000-yard stare. You've done nothing, right? It's just so pointless and crazy to me that anybody would think that that's useful. Leaving all the arguments, about it being unconstitutional as all hell out of the mix. It's just goofy. It doesn't make any sense to me. But then, I don't know. Maybe I can't see the woods because of the forest. Maybe, I don't know. I'll never buy into red flag laws. I think the whole purpose of a red flag law is to circumvent your rights. Let's see. All right, we got another super chat, and we're getting close to like 3 minutes from the bottom of the hour here. Jason, 11 or 14-inch barrel on the Bren 2. This you can talk to.
Oh, I just answered that on there. So the Bren 2s, just like anything else, I guess you could say military or whatever, is a little punchy. They're a little slightly larger gas port. That's why I took my 14-inch barrel gas plug and put it into the 11, and it seemed to be the perfect gas plug. But I'm working with that. But here's the thing to think about, right? If you look at your gas plug and maybe you want to drill your own hole where that 0 is and maybe create your own custom gas port, if you mess it up, there currently isn't any extra parts. So think about that before you do anything. But currently, 11-inch barrel seems to be the best just because it's, I suppress it with an OSS suppressor, and it suppresses way better than the 9-inch sure would. Plus, you're not beating on that suppressor as hard with the 11-inch. It just seems to be the perfect size, too.
That and you're not beating the gun up either because the OSS doesn't overgas it.
Right. But there was that one guy. I do apologize. Like over 1,000 rounds or something like that, fully suppressed the whole time.
Somebody says, Tim, I have to ask when your neighbor ratted on you. My neighbors haven't ratted on me. My neighbors are cool. I love my neighbors. I have some of the best neighbors. They put up with a lot from us. We were really nervous about starting up the BCM tests out here, and we did it and didn't get a single, phone call. I know all the neighbors. We all have each other's phone numbers. Didn't get a phone call. Didn't get a dirty letter left in the mailbox anonymously. They're cool about it, man. But we only shoot in the afternoon. We don't shoot early morning. We don't shoot after sunset. We try to be good neighbors. So, and they know if they're having, like one time, a neighbor up the road was having a wedding reception at their house, and we just didn't shoot that day. I know better. They're trying to have a good time, and last thing they want to hear is, the sound of gunfire. So, we just try to be good neighbors, and and we've had a good time out here, man. Nobody's complained. The sheriff hasn't gotten one phone call. I've gotten to know our sheriff. I think he's a really good guy. Jeff is an amazing guy, very friendly. Yeah, I see him at lunch and stuff. It's a very small town, and yeah, and I told his deputies, if you hear us out there shooting, come on by. And I think quite a few of his deputies actually watch the channel. So,
I know the newest things now, and one of the people commented here of the new changes on the 4473. Something about like photocopies and pictures during ATF audits and things like that.
You know what? That's been going on. So yeah, I just put up a post. Did you guys catch the guns emergency live stream about the 4473 changes? So here's the reality. I remember, I think it was a gun shop in Alaska years ago, refused to give their books to the ATF because the ATF was taking copies of the 4473 form, which technically is against the law. But the reality is, most every gun store, when the ATF shows up and they say, let us see your books, they're going to let them see the books. And if the ATF says, give us a private room with your records, they're going to give them a private room with their records because they don't want to lose their license. And so this has been going on for a long time. There have been gun shops that have stood up to them. I don't know how that's played out for those gun shops. That's probably why they're making this change. Now, everybody's saying, and this is what sucks, but everybody's saying, go do the comments period and make all these comments. It's important. Well, the courts have already ruled the ATF just has to go through the motions. They don't even have to. It used to be we could stop the process when we did that, but then they made a rule change. So now we can't even stop the process through our comments. So it's just going to happen now. And it just sucks. And why is it happening? It's because Trump hasn't put forth a ATF director that has gotten accepted. We didn't want the last candidate he put forward because the guy was horribly anti-gun. So you have these rogue groups within the ATF right now with political agendas, some of which are carryovers from the Obama administration, other administrations, that are going out there retroactively doing things like the bump stock ban, looking at, banning braces potentially, looking at, banning this, that, and the other, reversing all the decisions that ATF has made because they don't have a director saying, stop that, go do this. There's this one group that they call the Firearms Legislative Unit, the FLU, and I'm not kidding, that is kind of doing this, and they're anti-gunners. And that's why you're seeing all this crazy stuff. They're trying to get as much done while they can without a director so that somebody has to come in and undo this mess. And so that's why you're seeing stuff like this. And unfortunately, we're powerless unless you want to storm the castle,
Right.
I hate thinking about that stuff. That gets me so wound up.
I know. Well, I've reached the time limit that I have for tonight.
Yep,
but
it's the bottom of the hour. I think we got to all the super chats. If not, we apologize if we missed somebody. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll do another one of these here very soon. And we greatly appreciate the support. We do have an Amazon store. I think I put a link down in the description below. Also, I'll be sure to put our t-shirt store in there where you can pick up some cool t-shirts and stuff like that in the description below. And thank you to all of our Patreons and YouTube members. That's a new thing that we have here on YouTube. There's a little join button. You guys can click that and support us on YouTube. So multiple different ways to get us through the demonetization stuff and keep us moving forward. And we greatly appreciate all that do. Guys, thanks for watching. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Take care and have a good night.